What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Good afternoon, good evening in some places. It's your boy Ghost. We got my boy on this line right now, sickest fool in the game. What's going on, sickest guy? How are you, man?
What's up? Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Ghost, for having me. It's a
You,
pleasure
you
to be
already know,
here
man. It's good to see you on here,
right
man.
now.
I know you've been in the chat with us every once in a while, but I had to bring you on so people can see who the sickest guy in the game is, man. As always, this is no financial limits, not to be confused with financial advice.
Oh, man, I love that.
We here to have a good time, man, and we wanted to kind of go over a few things with you guys that we're kind of noticing some trends in the crypto game, especially, which is why I brought AJ on. AJ, sickest guy, tell us about yourself, man.
Okay, quick little background on me. I'm not even sure if I'm qualified to be here, but let's just give you a quick background. I like everything. I'm an entrepreneur investor. I invest in stocks, crypto, businesses, real estate primarily. So, I'm here. I like making money. I like talking about money. I like every aspect of it. Me and Ghost have been talking quite some time about stocks, crypto specifically. Quick background on myself. The first crypto coin I started really getting into is PancakeSwap, and that's the high yield farm. Full disclosure and transparency, I'm actually looking to close my position right now. As you've been tracking, every point I feel like has been running through the roof, and Pancake has actually been staying flat. A lot of
Let
people
me
are
ask you
saying because
something.
of the high yield is why there's no, appreciation in the coin, and the value of the coin's not going up. So
Let me ask you
been in there
something.
for about.
Let me ask you something about Pancake Swap because I remember you kind of putting me on Pancake Swap. Um,
Yes.
for those of you that don't know what Pancake Swap is, there's a lot of people in here that, in some cases, know nothing about Pancake Swap. I know before me and you spoke a year ago, maybe about this, maybe 8 months ago about this. I didn't know anything about Pancake Swap. So tell us what Pancake Swap is, how it works, and what's the benefits and what have you of it. First off.
I'm going in and out actually. I don't know if that's happening for me as well too, but I can hear you. PancakeSwap is it's a yield coin, and the reason why I liked it was because when I first started buying the coin, I was receiving about 130% APY just for staking my coin. So I was blown away. I was like, this is unreal. Like you can't just I have the coin, I'm gonna have it anyways, and you're gonna give me 100% annually just to hold this coin. So I was sold right away. And my thinking was not only will the coin appreciate, but I'll actually find way actually money
Hey, hold on 1 second. Can AJ 1 second? Hey, do me a favor. Give me 1 second here.
mostly coins that you could stake.
Is anybody else having issues hearing? Because you're going in and out on my end as well.
Hey, Gus, I'm sorry, man. I'm getting a lot of static right now. I don't know if it's me. Maybe it's my headphones. I'm not sure.
Are you on Bluetooth,
Let me turn
Wi-Fi?
this off. Maybe this thing's going on. I'm on Bluetooth right now. I turned my Wi-Fi off, but I'm on my Bluetooth headphones
Okay,
connected to my
whatever you
phone.
did, whatever you
So,
did worked.
okay, I just turned my laptop off. I think there was too much going on between my Bluetooth and my
Yeah.
laptop and everything like that. So,
Okay, I hear you good
okay,
now.
hopefully this is much better. Okay, perfect. So, anyways, going back to Pancake, I was obsessed with it. I loved it. Just high yield. Right now, it's currently about 78% annual on the coin if you're staking it. But like I said, full transparency, I'm actually looking to close my position. I'm up a little bit. I'm actually down on the price of the coin, but because of the staking, just tracking the markets, and with everything else running, this is one of the coins that didn't run with the rest of it. So I'm kind of like, there's not that much upside, because my upside was the coin running plus the interest you're getting in staking. So now that there's no run in the coin, and you know, I don't want to talk bad about it, and you know, people talk about different markets and whatnot. So
let me ask you
I don't
this.
see that coin going up, because I think in 3 months.
Let me ask you this, because so you first got into it because it's a utility coin too, right?
Pancake.
Can you hear me or no? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that was it. My whole strategy was to stake.
Okay. So staking for those that don't know, it's
I can
almost
hear you. You cut out a little bit, but
okay, cool. But you can hear me. You can hear me now?
Okay.
So staking, for those of you that don't know, it's kind of like getting interest in the realm of being in a savings account, right? So dividends, if you will. You're putting your money in here and you're staking it, and your hopes is to gain enough resources from what you're using to stake for it to make it worth it for you. In this case, PancakeSwap went down in value. However, because of how much it went up in the staking process, it kind of washed out for you, if I'm hearing you correct, right? I think there's a delay like crazy right now. He said there's static noise, huh?
Over here it goes.
It's static?
A little something, yeah. I hope I'm not contributing to the static.
I mean, it could be on my end. Let me try something.
Now, but as you were going on a little bit about talking about the staking and how it works.
All right, let's get this one. Let's get the sound going for a sec. I'm gonna do some tests real quick. Check 1 2.
Sound good.
Okay, so there's a huge delay on what it is. So AJ, turn off his mic on his desktop. You got a mic on? Oh, AJ.
Desktop? Yeah,
are you playing YouTube in the background or no?
I was, but it was turned off.
It's off now?
It was like through my laptop. I turned that off completely. So it's off now. That's what I did when I shut it off. So I just have my phone up and running. I just got a message from Donnie Boy telling me what's up.
What's going on? Okay, so ultimately you staked, you made some money off staking it, but the coin itself went down in value based upon your median. So you lost some money. So what we were kind of going with here is kind of what we spoke about last week, and this was about crypto.com itself. And there's obviously Crow, right? So your belief in Crow, obviously there's some parallels with the staking. There's some parallels with what you can use Crow to do, save on some fees, things of that nature. So walk me through your thought process with Crow in general. Where do you think it's going to be, let's say by year's end? And then also, what do you see the value in Crow? Like what's the strengths? What's the weaknesses?
Okay, so if you're having trouble hearing me with any static or anything, you want to let me know, please chime in. But let me go back a little bit before we go into all of that, and I do love all those questions. But I actually was introduced to Crow by Ghost, actually. So let's just back up a little bit. When I first started buying PancakeSwap, the only way I could buy it was through swapping my coins from one platform to another. So that's when I learned about Binance, I learned about Coinbase, and Ghost said, hey, check out crypto.com. They're waiving the fees. You could buy it from there. So I downloaded the platform. I never used it, but I had it the whole time. And they would send me push notifications basically tracking their coin. Crypto, 1 cent, 1.3 cents, 2 cents, 3 cents. So now I'm sitting here like this, what is this? This is Dogecoin. This is something that it's not real, whatever it is. Didn't pay any mind, but on the radar for me is when they struck their first deal with UFC. I don't know the exact date, but they did a marketing and sponsorship deal. So every fighter that comes out has crypto.com in the middle of their shirt. They have it on their shorts. They have it in the middle of the ring. Huge, huge sponsor. And I'm not sure the exact price of this time. I want to say it's roughly about 3 cents to about 5 cents. And every single pay-per-view, I would track the coin. I would say, hey, we're advertising. I wonder if that's going to have a direct correlation to the valuation of the coin. And surprisingly, there was never any movement. It was usually red on UFC fight days. But I didn't pay much mind to it. I didn't think much of it. And fast forward a little bit to now they strike a deal with the Staples Center to rename it Crypto.com Arena. And that's when it really kind of hit me that this marketing and their marketing and advertising is on a different level than all these other platforms. I mean, the next biggest up, if we're just talking platforms, we're talking about Binance, Coinbase, Crypto.com. These are the biggest players. And these are, what we want to call it. And so now going back to that story with Pancake and Binance, in order for me to get those Pancake coins, I had to buy Binance coins. So that was the first coin I bought. And the price of the first coin I ever bought was $600. I purchased my first Binance coin. And this is when it dipped back. This is, I think, maybe January, February, March. So then it just kept dropping. And I ended up buying coins as cheap as $270. So fast forward to right now, that Binance coin is still about $600 right now. So anyone that's had a Binance coin, and I've talked to a good amount of people who've been using this platform for years, and they tell me the same thing. Oh, I had a couple coins at $5. I had a couple coins at $6, and yet they're all sad that they sold their coins and now it's at $600. Because if you're going to be swapping out on any type of coin, it's just a lot cheaper to buy that coin, and then you have to buy the coin in order to buy other coins. So there's always some reason for.
So today,
and that's Binance.
Today Binance is at 630. I just checked just now, 630. I got some Binance myself. One thing I liked about Binance is, like you said, it's the functionality of it, right? In order to get Pancake Swap, originally, you had to have Binance in order to kind of swap it in for those per se. Now, on Crypto.com, why I liked Crypto.com is because I was able to buy Pancake Swap the coin on Crypto.com. I was able to buy Binance on Crypto.com, Shiba Inu, Doge, and I know they're very regulated. And I understand that in order for the coins to kind of hit there, sometimes you have to wait. And there's already these big run-ups on coins by the time they hit Crypto.com. That's something I've noticed. Now, one thing that I think is really important to know is tendencies and trends. And one thing I always notice is Robinhood, Coinbase, Crypto.com, those seem to be the three platforms that when something is available, when a coin is available on that platform, one or the other, or all three, or 2 out of 3, that's usually when you see the biggest uptick in the price. I remember when Shiba Inu was finally on Coinbase, I think in New York, there was like an announcement. I think that was attributed to one of the biggest runs that Shiba Inu had. There was a time frame where, Elon's got a coin, right? Elon Musk. Dogelon Mars, or however you want to say it. I think it's important to know this because right now I can get Dogelon, or Elon, let's just call it, because that's the symbol, ELON. I can get that on Crypto.com right now, right? Now, I think Binance, I think Coinbase just got Elon. But I know for a fact that, Robinhood, for example, doesn't have it.
Well,
when it hits...
Let me ask you a question. What do you use your fiat currency to buy these coins, or are you buying Crypto.com coins and then transferring them into these other coins?
So originally, I would buy
fiat money.
Yeah, originally I would load like my fiat wallet, right? And then from there I would kind of disperse it where I saw fit. And then when Crow was at around 12, 13 cents, I kind of had the same thought process where it was like, yo, this is kind of the currency for this platform. I know they're not as big as Coinbase. In other words, they're not publicly traded, but a lot of people I know use Crypto.com. So I decided then that I would load up my Crow coins. And I think it was like between 10 and 13 cents I used to buy them at. I remember getting them under 10 cents. I felt like was a pretty good deal because I saw it fluctuate quite often. And then I would use Crow to kind of disperse from there to save money on the fees and just a bunch of different ways, you know. But a lot of times I would load up my Crow now.
It makes sense.
So what is your outlook on Crow? I mean, I think personally, you compare it to Binance, right? Where it's like, wait till you see that you can get Crow to swap for this and however you chalk it up. Where do you see Crow going from here? I mean, it almost broke $1. You think this is the start of the run? You think this is like pretty much where it's going to be at? I know you mentioned accumulating around, under 75 cents if you got a chance to.
Yeah, so I made a center that I'm going to start accumulating a position, and it was about 50 cents when I made the mental decision that I'm going to do it. I wake up the next morning, and of course, it ran up to 75, 80, 85, 90, 95. So I've been buying at around 75 cents is about my average cost for most coins. Anytime it goes below that, I'll just buy a small little chunk. Anytime it goes over, I'll just kind of wait. And the reason why I'm looking to accumulate and something I want to touch base on is how we've actually got the reason why I'm so big on crypto.com is for one specific reason besides the marketing and advertising, which I think is great, right, is their rewards program. So they have different tiers rewards program, and I'm currently accumulating so I can set myself up in this position. So it's something I'm actively working on right now. You need to have There's different tiers. The lowest tier is $400 worth of USD Crow. The second tier is $4,000 worth of USD Crow. And the third tier is 40,000 USD. And I believe there's one more tier about 400,000 USD. Yeah, so those are the tiers. And if I open up my account and I have, let's say, like a Royal or J card, which requires about 4,000 USD, to get started in that card. Well, with that card, you get about 3%. I spend a lot of money on my credit card every month for my businesses. All my expenses, everything is just ran through credit, so I can accumulate as much frequent flyer miles and points. Right now I'm getting 2% back on my most popular card. This is giving me 3% back in Crow. So to me, it's like I'm getting another percent, and now I'm actually looking at what's the upside. Yeah, I can lose my points and they could have no value in a couple of years, or my coins could 10x, 100x, 200. Reddit forums and chat forums, they've been doing this at 1 cent. They're accumulating every single purchase they make. They get 5%, 3% back in Crow.
And so instead of getting cash back on a credit card, we're using these cards now to get Crow back, right? In a sense, you're getting cash back, but in the form of Crow. And so not only do you get interest because you're staking your Crow, but also if Crow continues to go upward,
correct,
the possibilities are endless at that point. I mean, ultimately.
Exactly. I mean, people have, like I said, this is crypto, right? People are making 1,000% returns like it's nothing, right? So even like 20%, 30%, 40%, people are looking at a chump change, but that's great returns when we're talking about investing. So I still see that in the short term. The coin could go to $1, it could go to $1.50, no problem. At the same time, could the coin go to $5? Could it go to $10, $100? Could it go to $500? Maybe. We don't know where it's going to be. We don't know where it's going to be 10 years down the road. Is it going to be...
I think the larger...
more stadiums? Is there going to be more deals?
I think that's exactly it. I think the larger it becomes and the more household the name brand becomes, it is endless. I mean, you think about companies like DraftKings, right? Acquisition after acquisition after acquisition, right? And this is what usually moves their stock. In some cases, it's not necessarily their revenue and their fundamentals. It's sometimes just the matter of the news behind what just took place. Buying Golden Nugget, making a deal with Michael Jordan on the board of directors, etc. So I think with Crow, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's UFC sponsors. They're now buying the rights to be called Crypto.com Center. I mean, I grew up with Staples Center. To me, that was a huge, when we went from the Forum to Staples Center, that was huge. And being that Crow now is going to be, on the rights to owning all of it. I mean, think about all of the commercials that are going to be played. Think about on the court. Think about every time an announcer brings it up out of their mouth. I think that this is going to intrigue a lot of people to almost make Crypto.com become the Robinhood of crypto, right? Robinhood is used by so many people in the stock industry, even though there's been a hell of a lot of tailwinds that have came from some of the decisions that they made, whether it be by choice or whatever their reasoning was. Not here to justify or give them credit for this, but they still are a heavily used platform. And I think with Crypto.com, I think that their chances of being larger and larger as crypto becomes more acceptable. I was talking to a business partner of mine, right? True story, bro. He's like, hey, what site do you buy crypto on? And this was back in I want to say April or May. And I said, Crypto.com. He's like, it's a website? I'm like, yeah, that's an app as well. He's like, oh, okay, cool. So today I'm speaking to him about it. And he's like, man, I still never got any crypto. Can you believe that shit? I was like, get out of here. You just asked me 4 months ago about the site. This is when Ethereum at one point dropped back down to 1,800. I was jealous. I thought you got in even heavier than I did. He's like, no, I never did. To be honest with you, I actually had to pay someone. And the person I was paying only accepted crypto. And I was just like, damn, it blew my mind because people see the value in it. We don't know what altcoin or what's going to be the biggest of all, right? We understand Bitcoin is like the start of it all. Ethereum's like its little brother. But then there's all these siblings that are just dispersed everywhere. And it's like not a rotation because they don't always come back around. But you go through the chain and it's like almost every one of these coins have had this crazy pop. And back to the whole Binance versus Crow. They both do things that something like Shiba Inu doesn't do, right? There's actually value to it. So, I don't know, man. I'm with you.
One thing I want to go quick. I want to talk about some more pros.
I lost you on the visual. All I see is me. Two of me. I think we lost AJ because I saw two of me at one point. And then now I see one of me. I see two of me again. What's up, twin?
I wanted to
He's back.
discuss real quick.
AJ, I think your service went out on us. Can you hear us? I'm gonna block it out just for now until he comes back on. I'm not sure where he went. Oh, there you are. You're back. There you are. I can see you now again.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
It's coming down really bad.
Okay, hang up and then call back in.
The echo. How do you sound?
Yeah, it sounds awful. Yeah, hang up and then come back in. I swear we did test runs and it was all gravy. And now, of course, while we live, we're just spazzing out over here on it. I apologize. Once he comes back on, we'll get him jump back on the screen as well. But yeah, so I think you back?
Yeah.
Check 1 2.
You hear me? Sounds a lot better.
I can hear you. Okay, cool. Go ahead now. What were you saying?
Hey, one thing I wanted to mention on Pro, we good? So they give 100% reimbursement for Spotify and for Netflix, and those are some services that I use. Right, I'm paying my $13 a month for Netflix, and then my $9.99 for Spotify. So that's a free $25 you're gonna get in Crypto.com. Reimbursed. And then you could go, if you get to the higher tiers, you could get, the way we started about my staking, they have great staking programs specifically for coins that I can't stake anywhere else. So Shiba Inu, you can get 4.5% for staking it. I'm sitting there in my Shiba Inu, sitting in my Binance account, not accumulating anything. And I'm a hodler. I'm just gonna hold it. I'm just hoping that one day this coin is really valuable and that, it makes me a lot of money. So I'm not looking to trade it. I'm not doing anything, but I can go free or I can go 4.5%. You get staking for, you can get 12% for Bitcoin, 12% for Ethereum. You're looking at 6% for these other like altcoins, which to me, so that's in crypto specifically is trying to leverage what you have to make more money. So
let your money,
like I said, between the staking,
yeah,
why not, right?
Let your money work for you while you work for it. So that's a huge factor too for me, man, is when you stake. I was already staking on crypto.com before I had the card. I was already staking and I was doing like the almost like month to month where you can kind of get out whenever you wanted to. And every month I'm like, man, I should have done this a longer period of time. Man, I should have done this a longer period of time, because I'm kind of with you on this. I don't think crypto is necessarily ending anytime soon. I think crypto's got a lot of leg room, and I think there's going to be different sites that add different coins, and those days that you're imagine finally getting access to buy Crow being on some other platform. You're going to buy some. You've seen it go up enough, why not? And I think we'll see some pops in it along the way. My ultimate goal is the same way. Accumulate with, using my cash back, accumulate Crow through the back door, and then obviously staking what I'm already staking anyway, and benefit off the higher percentage of stake when I'm actually involved in their cards. Now, full disclosure, you guys, again, no financial limits, has nothing to do with financial advice. This is just two guys talking about what they're currently doing. Please understand, you got to do your own research and determine what makes sense for you. We are not sponsored by crypto.com. Crypto.com is not paying us anything for this video. This is just out of sheer love for the actual site, the app, and the card, and what we've been noticing that it's making sense to do. And we just want to share our thoughts with you guys so you guys can look into it and see if you can make some extra resources and let your money work for you. I want to say what's up to a few people in the chat. Josh Stewart, obviously Pedram, we appreciate you. Steven Hudat, sound like a Bengal fan to me, but it's all good. You guys definitely whooped our ass, so we can call it what it is. Shrey's obviously loving AJ and his leads as well. Apparently he's gotten some good work from you, man, so that's cool to see. My boy Sean on here, I appreciate you always showing love. And very disturbed, man. I guess either you or myself are in a McDonald's parking lot and we're using their Wi-Fi, he says, or she says, because our shit's all over the place. Hey, this is the first time doing a call with AJ, man, and it's been such a fun time. We're nowhere near done. This is kind of like the halfway point, if I'm not mistaken, from a time standpoint. I want to take some questions. If you guys got any questions, please feel free to post it in the chat. We'll address them the best to our ability. I do want to talk about the stock market too. Just so you guys know, I took up day trading a while ago. I've always been an investor. I've always been a momentum and a swing trader. I took up day trading recently because I felt like it was important to have as many traits under your belt when it comes to the stock market, because the highs and lows of daily action, the highs and lows of weekly, monthly action, and even annual if we hit a bear market at any given time, I want to always be able to make money off of my resources and putting them to work. A couple stocks went off today. I know one of the biggest winners for me today was ISPC. I ran that from like 15 to 23 at one point. That was a good move. I know after hours had PPSI. P as in Peter, P as in Peter, S as in Sierra, I as in Igloo. That went off as possible squeeze play happening in that in the after hours. A lot of sympathy plays are out there. You got to keep an eye on. One thing I do is I look at scanners, but I also look at the internet sentiment, right? If I see a lot of people talking about it and a lot of people tweeting about it, I know that there's a lot of people in the sandbox, in a sense, that are going to be playing with this same stock. And I think that's something that's really important to always know. If you are day trading, Find a catalyst, yes. Find out why is it even getting the attention it's getting. But also make sure the volume is significantly higher than its average. Those two pieces of information are huge for you to determine if it's even a stock that's worth you, trying to day trade for a swing, whether it be an hour swing, a day swing, a couple minute swing. Make sure it's got volume. One thing I like to do is I like to find out. Go ahead.
How did you pick these stocks? ISP, PPSI.
So
is this something you just found on the internet and you're just, you're finding trending out?
Yeah, so there's scanners that exist.
Talk a little bit more of how your process is of picking specific stock and how you want to trade that day.
Absolutely. So for starters, there's scanners out there, right? When I first started, I used to use FinViz. It's free, FINVIZ.com. FinViz is free. You can kind of choose the criteria and get a head start. I'm also E-Trade Pro. It's got a volume scanner. It's got a couple little, ways to kind of pull up certain things that you look for, whether it's the highest percentage of the day, most actives. You can go to TradingView for some of these. There's a lot of people you can even follow on Twitter that have specific scanners and they give out alerts. But I'm also in a couple group messages with a couple of my close friends that I met from the Clove community. And they all have different scanners as well. Horizon is a really good scanner that a lot of us use. It's good for squeeze candidates. It's good for day trades. It's good for a lot of things. And it's pretty accurate.
Do you know, sorry to cut you off, do you know what metrics these scanners are using to basically bring up whatever symbol that's bringing up? Is it volume? Is it trending? Is it keywords? What is it really that makes these stocks basically come up to the top of these scanners to put them out there for you to start investing in?
It's a great question. So the ones I use, I actually choose the criteria. So one of the ones that I like to use is ATR. It's average true range. Average true range measures over a specific time frame the value that changes within that stock on a daily basis on average. So for example, if the stock's price is $10 per share, the ATR, average true range, being 50 cents, would be, it can go up to $10.25 and as low as $9.75, or it can go from $10 to $10.50, and this happens on average. So if I get a big enough gap between the average true range of 50 cents or larger, and it's still a relatively small cost per share as far as the stock I'm choosing goes, I like the 10 to 20 range. Those are the ones that I can actually play a lot more off of. There's a lot of ways to do it, right? You can go off of trend lines, the 9 and the 20 EMA. Once the cost per share crosses over the 920 and the 50 SMA, usually you get a nice little uptick in volume. I like, one of the ones that I like doing recently that just seems to be so easy for me is, once my scanners pick up these stocks, once I go through and find out certain catalysts that I feel will move the stock enough, and then once I scour the internet to make sure that I'm not the only one finding this, once I have all of those in play, I'm looking at their trend lines, right? Not trend lines, their support and their resistance lines. So I'll actually go back a full 3 months, do daily candles, and I'll kind of see if it's, not dramatically far off. Like if the dollar per average is $5 for the longest time frame and it's at $20, obviously those don't do anything for me. But most of the time you can get like a high and a low range that was once support, now resistance, or once resistance, now support. And you kind of get a nice little channel of where this stock pretty much kind of plays. And once you're able to kind of find that, I constantly am doing intraday support and resistance. If it's breaking that resistance, it gets a new high, I'm marking a new resistance. I'm waiting until it to kind of drop back to see if that former resistance became its support or if it's going to crash through. And I'm just finding my channels and I'm picking and sticking and moving where I see fit. Sometimes they go on a parabolic run, sometimes they don't, but I'm looking for little singles all day. Some of them turn into doubles, some of them turn into triples. ISPC, that was like a triple for me. I got in after a nice little low reversal on the $15 range. It shot up and it was fairly quick. Halted, and you get lucky sometimes and you end up hitting a home run on them. But it's all about finding the ones that make sense and making sure you're not the only one in the sandbox playing. You gotta look around. It's crazy. But when Yahoo Finance has it trending, when a couple of my boys have it show up on Horizon, when it hits one of my scanners, and then when it's on Twitter by 4 or 5 different people tweeting about it, usually that has a pretty parabolic move. And you could really, benefit from some of these this price action. And that's what I've been doing I've been doing it for a long time, but for the past 3 months, I'd say, I've been really taking it serious to get used to being able to make money on these swings. Not like a month out, 2 months out, 3 months out like I normally swing, but I'm talking about daily swings. And, it's hit or miss, you know what I mean? But for the most part, you start bringing in some funds.
Question. On subject, a little bit off subject. How do you feel about Reddit and using that kind of as a scanner? Do they have Reddit scanners, and what is that? Because everyone knows about how Reddit and how stocks can move, just through retail interest and whatnot. So, like you said, when people start talking about it, they start posting. Obviously we don't have to talk about what Reddit can do, but I just want to know if there's a correlation with the scanners in Reddit and how they work. I mean, was that something in the past, or is that something that still relatively moves when the people start getting behind it?
I definitely agree that Reddit is a great resource to find out buzz. If you go to certain stocks like AMC, you can see how many, people are on EMC's Reddit channel, how many members are on that specific, sub. That's what kind of brought me with most of these people that I even talked to in the stock market was from Clove, Clove. So yeah, I do believe that Reddit is something you can use to your advantage. Wall Street Bets is a prime example. You can start to see some of the traction when you start seeing a lot of hits on Wish, and all of a sudden Wish becomes trending. And then you do see a nice little pop from Wish based upon that. Yeah, I definitely think Reddit, although it's not one of my go-tos, and I don't know if they have a scanner. I'm sure they probably have a subreddit for scanners. But yeah, man, anything you can see visually get an uptick in sentiment is at least something to kind of give you, some hindsight on what's the crowd. Are they liking it? Are they not liking it? Are they going to short it? Are they talking about going long? You could definitely get some tells on it by all means. By all means.
And one day also, another question I'd like to ask is, I want to touch about, I actually like your strategy of trying to get in, get some free shares, and then get out and just ride. And for me, it's something I love. I hear you talking about that a lot, and there's a lot of upside, right? You get free exposure, and if it runs, it runs. If it goes down, you don't really lose much because you covered your losses. But what kind of parameters are you looking at on a daily? Are you looking at percentages, small percentages, like a couple percent here and there? Do you have anything? Will you hold overnight if you're down? What's kind of your strategy when you're getting into these day trades for the short term?
Okay, so first things first, when I make a decision if I'm day trading versus a swing trade, I stick to my guns, right? So some of these stocks that we day trade, we don't even care what they do. We don't give two craps what they do. The catalyst can be some FDA approval for some random thing that we've never heard of in our lives. That's irrelevant to us. So with day trading is different than swing trades. Swing trades for me, like DraftKings, I'll swing trade DraftKings and I'll hold it for a long period of time. And depending on the pop I get, and if I think I can put those funds elsewhere, I'll hold that overnight by all means. It's a swing trade, right? Day trading, my rule is I never hold the day trade overnight because it can gap down as fast as it gapped up. And you could really be holding a bag, and sometimes it takes a really long time for them to kind of circle back around. So I never hold anything overnight. There are times where I hold after hours, and I'll actually sell in the after hours. And that depends on if I'm seeing the volume is there, I'm still seeing it's moving, and I think the risk is worth the reward, yeah. But remember, I can still sell in the after hours. So for me,
yes,
I wouldn't.
The volume is there.
Exactly. Another thing is if I do see the catalyst and I do like the catalyst, I'll give you an example. Hims, right? Gronkowski got a part of Hims. And I was actually kind of excited about the company. So the day I day traded it and made a decent amount, I did keep some profits in there. You know what I mean? It was small, but I was like, cool, this will keep it on my watch list. This will also put me in a position to see if this does grow into something substantial. Hey, dude, that's not a bad investment in my eyes. And when they're free shares based upon the daily profit you pulled off, so be it. Why not in that case? If you believe in what you're actually day trading, which happens sometimes, those roads cross where it's something you believe in, and it's active for a day trade. So yeah, by all means, that would be a time it would make sense for me. And then the last thing is profits. So I used to have a really hard time. I used to always look at my trades and go, damn, dude, if I didn't sell, I would have made X amount. I could have sold here instead of here. And I used to do this to myself all the time. And I think Al Trades actually was the one who said it to me. He was like, yo, man, what that stock does after you sell is none of your business. It finally clicked for me to realize, like, all right, so I analyze my trades to only become a better trader. I now remove the emotional standpoint and the analyzing of what I coulda, shoulda, woulda if I held. There was a rhyme or reason I sold because maybe it was extremely volatile and I already had a good profit. I sold there. And then of course, okay, if it still runs, it still runs. That's not my problem anymore. So what I like to do is I always, for starters, make sure that my risk versus reward makes sense financially. Managing risk is the biggest thing with day trading because you can lose your whole account in a matter of one trade, right? You can make your whole day in 1 hour. You can make your whole 1 hour in 1 minute. You can make your whole week in 1 minute on some of these trades, to be honest with you. So it's also in the same way where you can go down just as fast as you went up. I've been in stocks before that halted on the way up. I got greedy and held for a longer period of time. Then I got halted on the way down. By the time it came back active, I lost a lot of money on that trade. So I look for a 2-to-1 profit to loss ratio. For example, if I'm picking up a stock on support and resistance, and let's say it's a $12 per share is their resistance, $10 per share is the support. And I got a $2 range in here. And right now it's at around $10.50. I'm like, all right, if I pick up right here, volume's coming in, it's looking like it's on its way up. It just crossed over the 90 or the 9 EMA. I like what I see. If I go down to the support, that's 50 cents I lose. I'll go 10 cents even lower just to be on the safe side if it bounces and starts to go towards resistance. And then I look for the upside, it's $1.50. So I'm like, that's virtually a 3-to-1 profit to loss ratio. I like my chances. I'll dive in. Now, if it hits, sometimes it hits just double and hits to 11.50. Doesn't necessarily hit, resistance, but it was a nice pop.
2-to-1.
Exactly. 2-to-1, 3-to-1.
Let me ask another question. Will you go short too, or you're only going long on these day trades?
I don't feel comfortable enough to go short. I just genuinely don't. I know it's such a dumb thing right now because I've analyzed stocks and I've been like, damn, dude, this is where I would short it. I would 100% short this right here. And then unfortunately, I just have never, it's better. I can see you better. But I would see the stock and, it starts to kind of lose its momentum. It starts to lose its volume and it's like, ooh, I could totally short this right here and get a nice little pop back down to support. But I just don't feel comfortable enough shorting a stock because it's limitless, with going long and picking shares. I still own the shares and I have the power to kind of get out as soon as I want. As much as it's kind of the same with shorts, I've just seen so much crazy pops in stocks where it gets halted on the way up and I've seen moves. DWAC was a move I'll probably never forget, man. I got in around $12, $13, was sticking and moving, getting out at 16, jumping back in at 17, getting out at 19, jumping in at 14. I saw the stock hit $175 within 48 hours. I couldn't imagine being on a short. Now, yeah, you can always get out the same way you can kind of get in on going long, but it's just an uncomfortable thing that I'm still kind of scouting before I ever go short.
I'd like to touch up on that, actually. One of my mentors, one of the smartest people I've ever met, he gave me some, I want to say, bad trading advice because it always stuck in my brain and it messed with me. And his theory was I could always pick a stock that's going to go down 10 points as opposed to finding an undervalued company that's going to go up 10 points. So he was always a pessimist looking for companies to short. and this is over 10 years ago. I've lost so much money from shorting that I think maybe about sometime this year, in the beginning of the year, is when I made a decision that I'm not going to short stocks anymore. Even if it's the most obvious short of all time, I'm just over it with the potential amounts of losses and unlimited amounts of losses that I've seen. So I've kind of retired from the short game. But, it always sits in my head knowing that, like, you can find something that's overvalued, scams, bad news. It's so easy to find something that's going to fall and fall fast than it is to say that this is undervalued and it should be climbing up.
So it depends, right? So, like, I've actually been in a position where I bought puts, right? Like, to me, there's like two sides of the coin. Shorting a company and putting puts. For me, the puts that I'm putting down, I'm willing to lose every penny of it. Literally every penny of it.
You know your price though. You know how much you'll lose if that put expires and you don't exercise that contract. You already know your total exposure compared to going short.
So back in March of last year, I put a bunch of calls on Carnival and Dave & Buster's, right? And it was because vaccine news came out. So I put calls on both companies and watched them run. In one day, it was like 250% increase in what the calls were worth. And I was like, well, okay, this is like too much. So I scaled out of Dave & Buster's slowly, but I got all the way out of Carnival the same day. I also then put puts right on Carnival because I said, well, how long is it going to take for them to make and develop in bulk this vaccine? And then how are they going to get it to everywhere? Although the news of them finding a vaccine, it's going to take a long time for this to happen. And I just put puts on it right away and ultimately put puts on Dave & Buster's shortly after putting the calls on them. And that's the closest thing I've ever done to shorting is when I grab puts for something. You know what I mean? But shorting is definitely a difficult game. I'm still trying to learn it, and I'm definitely not interested in shorting anytime soon. But I am trying to learn how many times you could play a stock, the same stock, and be in the same boat, where you can win on the way up and also win on the way down. Because, dude, a lot of these stocks do lose steam, and they do start tanking sometimes shortly after their parabolic runs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I actually like that a lot too. Like I said, for me, I've always been a pessimist. I like shorting companies. I feel like I said, especially on rumors and news, right?
Absolutely.
CEO just got caught doing this, that. The stock's going to tumble. Very easy to go in and short it. But like you said, forget the shorts. Puts, that's the next step right there, where you know your number and you can make excellent returns on options. So, we don't want to get too much into that because I'm not that experienced actually. So I can't say much, but this is something that I should definitely be learning. This way I could go back into my strategy of being able to see companies that are overvalued and ride them on their way down with limiting my exposure of how much money I could lose. I mean, just to go back, I was short GoPro back in the day before it made its run. I was shorting it at like $20, $25, $30. And it ran up all the way to $90, and it killed my whole account. I got wiped out completely. Like, and full transparency, I've been wiped out a couple times, right? Like, I'm a pretty successful trader. I make some good money. I don't want to say I make good money. I make money, but then there's always that one bad trade that I have that always makes everything so much worse, right? So it's like, if I could just go off of my wins, I'd be great. But then there's always that one bad trade. And GoPro, for example, was one of them where I got killed. I literally lost my whole roll from it running up to 90. I don't even know where the stock is now. I think it's like $5 or something like that, like $10. Like
time is a killer with some of these, man. So first of all, I've never burnt an account, but there's been some highs and lows I've experienced, and I noticed my wins would be small little base hits, but my losses would be like a double play. And so I had to learn, like, yo, dude, if it's not doing what I thought it would do right away, I'm out. And I think that's one of the hardest things to kind of rationalize, because human beings, we justify anything. We figure out a way to justify. And so it's like, oh, well, it'll come down eventually, or oh, it crashed through the 20, but it did hit VWAP, and it did bounce off VWAP. Oh, maybe there's still some and we justify. It's like, look, dude, if I got into a trade thinking this was what was going to happen, and that's not what's happening, the second I can identify that that's not what's happened, I get out And sometimes I'll re-enter in just a couple seconds later even. But I'd rather take a small L and regroup and figure out what's the route I'm taking and then just stick to my guns at that point. You know what I mean? That's how I feel now. So, yeah, you got to be very careful shorting because it's endless. We kind of ran past our stock time, but I had a good time talking to you and chopping it up, man. We got to do this more often, that's for sure, man. We got to go through our picks. So, tonight we got, obviously, the Seahawks and the Washington football team. What's your outlook on it? I mean, what do you think? We got the spread. We know the spread on this one. I think it's over under 47.
I'm not sure, but I just know Russell Wilson hasn't really thrown a touchdown since he's been back for 2 weeks. So
I think they're due.
It could be a bounce back game. It kind of see where that division's going to go because I feel like these divisions kind of all in a group. So between the Niners, between the Cardinals, between the Seahawks. This is the thing. I think the Rams are at the top of the division, and I guess the 49ers are in second. This is, I think, probably the Seahawks' last chance to see if they can even qualify for a wild card spot. So I would personally ride Seahawks and Russell coming off his injury. He's had 2 weeks to shake it off, and he's looked pretty bad the last couple of weeks, but I love Russ.
I like the money line.
The money line's good. Even 1.5. I mean, what's the chance that they win by 1 point? Obviously, I'm sure the money line is probably worth it to go maybe minus 125, minus 130. But
yeah, I mean,
1 point game, pretty tough, easy. But I think there is some value for Seahawks minus 1.5, which I think is the line that's posted right now.
What do you think? Over or under 46.5?
I mean, my reason I have to say under. Washington defense has not been as good as they were supposed to be in the beginning of the year. So that was kind of making me want to lean over because I've seen Heineke actually play well sometimes, which is kind of weird. Like he just looks like the second coming all of a sudden. Just they beat the Bucks and whatever they decide to do. All of this was over, so they could do it. But the Seahawks defense has been pretty good. Washington at home, I would say under. If I had to pick, I would say Seahawks the under, as in what my read would be on tonight's game.
I love it. So one segment of the show that we always do, give me 1 second. Let me pull it up real quick. 1 second. All right. Let's pull it up real quick. So we have just a recap of last week so you guys can kind of get a feel for it. I started off horrifying last week. I lost 5 L's in a row right off top. Raiders, obviously, and the Cowboys. That didn't go well for me. It was a bad week, man. It was a bad week. A lot of things happened. The Steelers getting annihilated. That definitely hurt my self-esteem. You guys know how big of a Steeler fan I am, obviously, and that bothered me. But Coach didn't have too well of a game as well, luckily. He had one extra win than me. He's got a losing record at 38-52. Can't wait for him to hear this. 38-52. Basically, you just got to pick what Coach does, roll with the exact opposite, and you're doing very well. Me, on the other hand, I do have a winning record, but because of the fact that you pretty much got to bet 110 to win 100 most places in this world, 47-43 ain't cutting it either. But those were our games from last week. And I'm going to pull up our games this week here. Here's the spreads for the week. So, AJ, I'm going to let you kind of pick some of these games that kind of stand out on you. Can you see them okay? You want to make it a little bit larger?
I can't see it. Is it on your screen? I can't see it. I'm pulling it up right here on my screen. On my book right here. I don't know if these are the same lines. So we have Seahawks -2. Moved a little bit. Money's coming in on Seahawks, I see. Where do you want to start? Thursday night? Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, we got Cowboys -4.5 versus the Saints.
No quarterback. I don't know. Who's going quarterback there? Taysom Hill? Trevor Siemian? I'm taking Cowboys. I could see the Saints weirdly covering the spread at home. I wouldn't go too hard. Unfortunately, I kind of don't like the Cowboys. I know how everyone rides them super hard, and I just think they're a team that chokes. I'm sorry to say it. I'm sorry to say fans out there. But to talk it up, the good thing, the offensive line looks okay. Tony Pollard looks good. I'm actually very well impressed with Dak. I thought he was Duncan Dak for a while, but he actually is a pretty good quarterback.
They put up a
But
hell
I
of a
just
fight
think
last week without their top two receivers, without a lot of their coaches. I mean, they've surprised me pretty much all year. There's been a couple games where I just scratched my head and was like, well, how do you go from this to this? But at the same token, I picked Cowboys minus 4.5 as well. I got the G up on mine. What do you think about the Giants and the Dolphins?
Oof. So I actually just went Eagles this last week and took that L
Me too.
against the Giants. But then I think that goes back to divisional games. So I think this actually might be a game that the Dolphins are able to win at home. I love coaching, and Brian Flores is a great coach. So his guys are going to be out there playing hard, So Giants don't really strike me as a good team, and they don't even look like they're going to have a playoff shot. I mean, they're actually in the hunt, surprisingly. I was looking at that where
Yeah,
they're like number 2 in the hunt for
NFC
the wild card.
NFC East is always like this, it seems like. So I picked the Dolphins minus 2.5 as well. I thought the same thing. First of all, Dolphins have tore off like 4 in a row, and they're at home. And I think that they can get themselves back in the playoff hunt with a W. And look, until Saquon Barkley gets completely back to normal, I think that their offense is kind of stagnant. I don't know why Galladay and their quarterback just doesn't get on the same page, but I still think Dolphins have a really good shot of winning that game and turning out 5 in a row and looking like they're on the uprising. We got Colts minus 8.5 versus the Texans.
So, I mean, they just lost versus the Bucks, but the Bucks are one of the top teams, in the NFL. So, and they've been playing at a very, very, very high level. So, I would have to say 8.5, but I just don't like these big spreads. They're so hard to go by, but I would have to pick 8.5 if I had to pick. Again, going back to coaching, Frank Wright, I think he's a phenomenal coach. So
for me, the Texans were getting annihilated every single game, just the punching bag like the New York Jets of 2019, 2020 in a sense. And they got back Tyrod Taylor, and I think that actually helped them with their offensive attack. And then they got this new, I don't even know what to call it. I don't know who they're even giving the ball to at this point. It's like at one point you think your boy's back, and they're gonna start feeding what's his name, David Johnson, and then the next moment they're feeding Philip Lindsay, and they're kind of lost. I think the Colts are gonna win by 8.5. I got them Colts minus 8.5. I think they're gonna be a little bit bitter about the game against the Bucks because they did have a decent lead and were kind of keeping everyone in check, and they held Tom Brady for the most part without his normal Tom Brady swag. I mean, there was 4 touchdowns by Fournette. And I think they did one of them was a pass, but the other 3 were runs, and so was Ronald Jones's run. So I think that they're gonna be ready to put the beating on the Texans.
And just also, I don't know who plays fantasy out here, but the Dolphins did pick up Philip Lindsay, and he was the clear number 2 behind Myles Gaskins. So that's something I would kind of keep on the radar if you're looking for a little bit of running back depth. But
which also brings David Johnson kind of in the mix of being a pretty decent pickup for if you're sacrificing RBs with some injuries out there. Not a bad look for either of those two. I agree actually with that. I forgot. You know what? I didn't even realize Philip Lindsay did get moved over. That's a revenge game for him too.
And he got 12 touches too. So they put him in. One thing, also just speaking on fantasy strategy, I just don't like teams with bad O's. I do like Tyrod Taylor. He's a good game manager. He makes good decisions. But I just don't see the Texans scoring too many points. So,
right.
It's hard to trust David Johnson. It's hard to trust. I like Cooks more than anything in that because they're going to be throwing from behind.
I agree.
He gets some openings and some big plays, but it's just hard to see production from these low-scoring offenses, really. So
I agree to the fullest on that. I genuinely do. I think Philip Lindsay's a pass-catching back as well, but I think that limited upside with the way things turn around in that building. Vikings minus 6.5 in Detroit.
I mean, I'm taking Vikings, but tough divisional game, really.
So
I wouldn't bet on it.
So Coach picked the Lions, and that's been one of his favorite teams this year because they always seem to cover. I think if it was 7.5, I can pick the Lions with more comfort. But I'm kind of with you. I think the Vikings are a secret team. You know, Dalvin Cook injury kind of depends on what's going to happen here. Is he out? Do we know?
I'm not sure. I didn't know he got hurt last game, but
Yeah, his shoulder. I think he had something to do with the shoulder, if I'm not mistaken. I only knew because I seen a question mark for him to return, and you know, Issa was pretty quiet on fantasy football, so I'm pretty sure. You know.
One thing I would say, Alexander Mathis, the backup, the handcuff,
Yeah,
he's serviceable.
solid.
So it's not like you lose Cook and you're like, oh man, our offense is just gone. Like he could plug and
He's
play.
solid.
I like the receivers. I like Thielen. I like Jefferson. Cousins is totally capable. I mean, they just beat Green Bay 2 weeks ago in a tough game. So, like I said, but then again, those are the division games. You know, the Green Bay versus the Lions, Green Bay versus Vikings.
Yeah,
versus
division
Lions.
division
There's
road
some-
teams are really hard to take with confidence, no matter how good their record is. I agree with that so much. Okay, so we got Eagles minus 7.5 at the New York Jets.
Taking the Eagles. Eagles have been one of my sneaky teams this year.
So I
They
agree.
And they hurt me too, you know. So they hurt me this week against the Giants, but then a lot of these games against garbage opponents, they show out. You know, against the tougher opponents, they play well and lose, but they're able to throw off some pretty trash opponents. So this is one of those games I can see them, the defense just taking over, Jalen taking over, and not really being too competitive.
I think they found their identity, right? You got to run the ball, and that's going to open up the passing lanes, and you got to utilize, you know, Jalen Hurts, like a Lamar Jackson, right? Now, getting back Miles Sanders kind of tweaked a few things for them in a weird way. So his first game back, he ended up fumbling on the 4-yard line. Then he ended up fumbling on the 4-yard line on the other end of the 4-yard line, and they recovered the fumble, or forward progress was down, or whatever they called. And then this week, they fed him, I think, 9 times, and he had like 70-plus yards. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, or he was at like 7 yards a carry. And they got Byron Scott. They got, is it Brian Scott? Boston Scott, thank you. They got Boston Scott, who ends up muffing one of the fumbles late. And I think they just got to stick with Miles Sanders. He's clearly the explosive back. I'm not just saying that because he's on my fantasy squad. But, like, bro, he was hurt. You guys finally decided to run when he was hurt. Now that he's healthy and he's back, man, feed that man. Let him get acclimated again. And I think that's their ticket to success. But, Coach, he picked the Eagles minus 7.5. I was kind of scared of that half point, because the Jets have secretly been covering also, one of those sneaky teams like the Lions, that you're so accustomed to thinking the Jets are trash, but they're making games every which way you look.
I like the head coach for the Jets. You know, I know it's his first year. I think he's doing pretty well for having such a bad team, to be honest. You know, so
hey, shout out to Nick. Russell Wilson's birthday today. Did not know that. And also he's 10-2 on Monday night, which is amazing. That's beautiful. So who's getting out and who's getting surgery? I'm assuming you're talking about Dalvin Cook, I think, man. I think it's more serious. What's up, Franzel? Nice to see you on here, man. Let's go. Sorry, we didn't pay attention to the chat for a minute. JJ, don't even trip. Thanks for coming in to check in. You know, we always talk about some fun shit. I know you've had some winners based upon some of our streams with Digital Turbine, a.k.a. apps. There was another one that was recent. I think SCAH we're getting involved in. I'm still accumulating, for those that are wondering. I'm still accumulating SCAH. I think there was a delay with the filings as far as the merger goes. But I think SCAH is a great swing play for a longer time frame. Again, don't trust me. Not financial advice. Do your due diligence. You will see. They're on Manchester United's jerseys. They're all over the NBA courts. And they just got approval in 2 different, I guess, states. They got approved. I think they're in 13 now. Just do your research, man. SCAH, phenomenal. So it's day to day, even though he's getting surgery. I'm assuming you're talking about Dalvin Cook. Confirm for us, please, though.
And by the way, Nick, what's up? Nick is a huge football head. Same thing, does stocks, does crypto. I talked to him a lot, actually, about these things. He's in the league of mine. First year I invited him to the league. He went ahead and just won the championship, so he's got credibility when it comes to...
It wasn't beginner's luck?
No, he knows what he's doing. He's a savvy guy. I talk to him enough. I pick his brain. I ask him questions. And so it's more than just luck. He knows what he's talking about. He comes from a family of football. His little brother's playing right now, I think, at Chaminade.
Nice.
He's out there.
Nice, dude. Let's go, man. Nice to have you on, Nick, man. It's the first time I got to meet you on here, man. We appreciate you coming out. I see LaQuacia's on here. LaQuacia, what is good? Do you think she will drop a decimal point this year? I think Shiba Inu is definitely going to be volatile, but I do believe once it hits Robinhood that you'll see a nice spike in the profit zone. So what I always do, and this is just for me personally, I buy little tiny amounts, little by little, every time there's drops to take advantage of my average price so that when it does pop, I can start to scale out the same way I scaled in. So if you want to just put it in your mind from a math perspective, if I'm willing to throw 10 grand at something, I'll only put in $1,000 at a time just to make sure that I don't, because I can't catch the bottom every time. But if I put 1,000 in and 1,000 in and every time it dips 1,000 in, ultimately I should get my 10 grand in there one way or another. If it takes off and I only put 2 grand in, which happens all the time, mind you, I'm cool with that. I'm happy. I made money off it taking off and there was no way to buy the dip. Cool. But if I do get that chance to put in 10, and that's the limit that I want to put in on that specific ticker or that specific coin, I want to move in slowly, because it's such a good feeling when something dips and I'm like, all right, cool, I could buy more, versus when it dips and I'm already all in and I'm like, damn, it's less stress. It feels way better, the whole 9 yards.
One thing I want to mention too about Robinhood, I prefer not to buy crypto coins on Robinhood, and
I don't touch it either.
I want to own the coin, right? So if I don't know why, I don't know if that even makes sense, but I want the coin to be actually mine, not just trading on an index. I've traded coins before in the past. Like for example, I bought my first Dogecoin I traded my Dogecoin for the first time on Robinhood, and it wasn't really the coin. It was just tracking the coin on the index, and then I actually bought my first coin on Binance. And then I own the coin / I'm just trading it on an index. I'd rather own the coin and have it in my actual material possession, even though it's not a material thing.
No, I agree. I mean, I think, again, I don't advocate it either. I'm not a fan of Robinhood at all. I've never used their platform, and I won't disrespect them because I don't know enough about specific things. But from the banter and the hatred and the frustration that I hear with people that weren't even able to do specific things during the GameStop saga alone was enough to kind of make me turn my cheek. But yeah, you don't hold the actual coins like on crypto.com or Coinbase, etc. So definitely be aware of that by all means. Solana, Crypto, and Avalanche are great buys for the long term, says Franzel Johnson. Solana, I do like Solana.
I love Solana, by the way.
I do.
I'm big on it. I got in, around 200, and I watched it run up. It's actually kind of pulled back, surprisingly. So I'm not up as much as I was on that coin. But
okay, Gabe. My guy Gabe got in at 42. I see you, Gabe. Damn.
That's what I'm saying. He's up. That's what I'm talking about. I was at 200. I thought that was great. At $200, I'm like, dude, I'm up. I was up over 50% at one point. Wow, I love crypto. But
it's an interesting game, man. It's one of those games that I love accumulating as many as I can that make sense, and then selling half when it doubles up and letting the other half ride, man. Free roll it all day.
Just go back to, for example, this is personal. My Solana is sitting in my Binance account, just sitting there. If I transfer it to crypto.com, I'll be getting 6% on it. 6% for free. So, like I said, I don't want to go all the way back to crypto, but I know we started with that. And those are just little things that, why not, right? If you're sitting there and you're holding these coins and you don't have any plan on selling it, make sure you're getting some type of return on it.
Might as well.
It's free and it's not from you.
Might as well stake at that point by all means. And look into the different ways to stake, you guys. There are ways to stake on crypto.com. It's a smaller percentage, but you can always take it in or out. So if you can take it in and out, there's no point in not staking it. It's not like it's locked for life. You can do increments that are longer, obviously. And like you said, if you're planning on holding it inevitably for as long as possible, then you can go longer stakes as well, or longer, routes to stake it as well, and you will get a higher percentage. But look at, read the fine print, man, and find out exactly what makes sense for your philosophy and your strategy.
And one other thing too, be competitive. Look around, see if someone's gonna give you a better rate. So that's why I don't want to keep talking so highly of Crypto.com as if I have some type of agenda. They're giving me the best rates for staking a lot of these coins that won't give me any rates at all. So at the same time, don't just settle on Crypto.com. Keep looking. Look for that next place. Look for that next place. See what's going to give you the best returns. Because ultimately, that's what we're looking for, is the highest returns for ourselves. So don't just get locked up because this is saying, hey, I'm going to give you this. If Crypto.com is giving you 6%, some other place is going to give you 8-9%. Take the 8-9%. It's just common sense. But I think some people get too stuck in their ways sometimes. So
and Franzel's bringing up a good point. He's talking about how Avalanche crypto is set to blow up more since large insurance firms. So he's going to find the name for us. But apparently there's this large insurance firm that's choosing to use somehow this currency Avalanche to help speed up the process from the insurance claim side of things. Again, he's going to pull it up now. I haven't validated this, but if that's the case, this just kind of goes back to our theory. Why certain cryptos pop at certain specific time frames is because sometimes it's a catalyst like this, but it's also to understand that it's getting adopted more than ever. And it's only like a 2-3% of the world that even has or owns any type of crypto. It's like a super small percentage. Imagine as that starts to become like a dollar, like legitimately a hard dollar. Back to football, man. The kickoff already started, you guys. We don't want to keep you up too long. But just to kind of give you our picks here before we sign out. Cardinals -7.5 against the Bears. I chose Cardinals -7.5. I think that their offense is just staggering. I think not staggering, but I think it's just I think it's going to stampede on the Bears. I just think they have no shot in winning this game.
Do you know if Kyler's back or if Colt McCoy?
I don't know who's coming back, but I'm watching them do it without this guy Kyle Irvin. So I'm like, I think they'll be in good shape. Andy Dalton.
I like the Bears, to be honest. Their defense is kind of competitive, and I think without Kyler, I mean they're capable, but they're not that next level championship contending team. So I think with that big point spread, and I think it is in Chicago,
it is.
I would have to go with the nitty-gritty game. I could see Arizona not being able to score points. That's their thing. They score a lot of points, and they score a lot of points in games they shouldn't be scoring a lot of points. Against the Rams and other teams.
I think Murray's coming back this week. I think he is. We'll tell when we see the spread change, right? I mean, if that spread.
There's also cobwebs too. Look at Russ coming back from his injury. It doesn't mean he's going to come out and just show out. He might be a little rusty. And the Bears, one thing about Bears, they always have a good defense, right? That's the one thing.
So let me ask you something. With Murray, they thought about bringing him. He was kind of week to week for a while, and they decided, we have a bye week coming up. Let's just hold off this last game. He'll come back after the bye. And they haven't rushed it because they're winning. Where you look at the Seahawks, they rushed it. I mean, he broke his hand or his finger. I mean, he needed to get operated on right then and there, and he came back to play because they're in ride or die mode at this point. I mean, if they don't start to string along some wins, they can kiss this season goodbye. So I think that also has a little bit to do with the discomfort and the lack of ability, for lack of better words, the lack of the ability to score. I mean, they can't put up anything. So I think this is their get-right game. Washington, they lost a pretty... who'd they lose on their defensive end side?
Washington or Chicago? Washington,
the football team tonight.
Yeah, I think Chase Young is
Chase
out.
Young, right. So I think the same way this is the get-right-back game for Russell, I think that it took this to kind of line up. Whereas to where Kyle Murray, he could come in now. He could have came in last week, I think. I mean, I think they're letting him kind of sit out for this time frame while they're still getting W here and there. So we'll see. I mean, I think if he plays, that's a no-brainer, in other words.
And also, I think the Cardinals are coming off a bye.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Also, the Bears are coming off a long week because they played on Thursday.
That's right, they did too.
Thursday they were going to have a little bit extra time to rest. And there's also a lot of talk about the head coach, Matt Nagy. And those guys hear that, and they want to play hard for their coach. So it's either they like their coach and they're going to play hard for him, or they're like, get this guy out of here, and
right.
They're just going to give him a lollywop. But I can see it being either way. I think they like their coach, to be honest, so I think they'll play a little extra hard for him.
I could agree with that. If let's see that one, man. We're gonna star that one because I still think Cardinals do it, but I like where your thought process is on why there's hesitation there. I didn't like the half point, but now I even see even more on your perspective. So next game we got Chargers at the Bengals, and my boy Coach has the Chargers plus 3.5.
I'm Chargers plus 3.5 too.
I am too, but because the Bengals just mollywopped my squad so badly, I just want them to mollywop the Chargers. Because we played the Chargers tight. It was out of hand at first, but putting up 27 points in the fourth quarter, that hurt because I was at the game, obviously. You know that, bro. That shit stung. But the Chargers, I think the Bengals have better defense than the Chargers do defense. And I think that might be a deciding factor because the Bengals aren't going to give up 4 touchdowns to Austin Eckler like we did. They're not doing that. No way, no how.
One thing I want to say, though, is again, these divisional games, the Bengals look good because they played against a divisional opponent, and I think they had the Pittsburgh's number. Same thing, Chargers look really bad because they played a divisional game against the Broncos.
That's true.
And they just got mollywopped. So people are kind of sleeping on the Chargers, but, I mean, that Chargers, sometimes.
That's true. I can give you that.
Good. Sometimes it looks bad.
I think it's a field goal game regardless. I think the game ends with a field goal to win the game. Whether that's a 2-point win or a 1-point win or a 3-point win, I think that comes down to a field goal at the end, which is why I like the Chargers plus the 3.5 as well. But again, that heart is like smash the Chargers for me so we don't look as bad as we just looked. You know what I mean? This one's a wild one to me. We got the Buccaneers. We got a minus 10.5 against the Falcons, who are just legitimately must-win game for them. Division home game for them. Getting 10.5 points seems like a lot. Coach seems to think so. He got the Falcons plus the 10.5. I say if Antonio Brown plays, the Bucs beat him by 10.5. If Antonio Brown does not play, then I think it's a closer game than we expect as well.
I mean, I would have. That's again so hard picking over 10 points in a divisional game at home. The only factor I have that makes me like the Bucs is I feel like Brady has a little something in him against the Falcons because of that Super Bowl game. So if he wants to come back and play a little bit tougher, I think that's what could take him over to covering the spread. But if there wasn't any bad blood or any type of storyline, I would have to say Falcons at home plus 10.5.
What about the other way around? What if, they got Cordell Patterson back who balled out, and what if Matt Ryan's like, it's my last chance to put it in that mother, you know what I mean? And that gives him that X factor too, right?
Of course. And one other thing too, and this is kind of like weird, but Brady's one of the best game manager clock killers in the game. So one thing I've seen Brady do so many times is he has the game secured within the spread, but it's not even close. So I could see it being one of those situations where Falcons are down by 14 or even like 16 for a junk time touchdown, and then Brady gets the ball and just runs the ball. It's 4-minute offense, and then they end up
kill the clock.
The ball up 9.5, and there you go, Falcons cover. So
yep,
it's gonna be a tough game to get, but it has to be something.
I think that game is closer than we expect. And that's if Antonio Brown doesn't play. If Antonio Brown plays, that offense is so potent with him out there, because it's one thing to you got Godwin and you got Mike Evans, and sometimes they're even lining up on the same side. You got Gronk back. You can obviously see the difference with having Gronk back. And then you throw in Antonio Brown, you're pretty much forcing them to one-on-one everybody. And at that point, it's wraps in my mind. He's going to go wherever he wants. Leonard Fournette out the backfield. It's a very, very gross offense when they're all healthy. I'll tell you that much. Jaguars.
Hey, keep your eye on Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah.
Sneaky, sneaky sleeper. Obviously he's kind of injury dependent, but I think if anything ever happens to Fournette, I think Gio would slide in there and pay.
I still think Ronald Jones and him getting that late touchdown, or he had a touchdown in between Fournette at one point, I still think he'll be that goal line hogger. But I agree with games where there's – see, here's another thing. The Bucs have a really favorable schedule. They play one team over 500 the rest of the way. So Giovanni Bernard to me is like comeback killer, right? He's going to be the guy on the third down if they're passing back that they need to go to. I'm not sure if they're going to need to go through too many passing situations if they get these leads on some of these teams, because their schedule is ridiculous. Like the Steelers have the hardest schedule from here on out. Every team they play is over 500, and all of them are like playoff teams or in playoffs if they started now. Whereas the Buccaneers are complete opposite. They have one game that's over 500 for the rest of the way, and I think it's the Chiefs if I'm not mistaken. Everything else is under 500. Good game though. I'm gonna watch that game heavy now, just because, not only do I have AB if he plays, but Cordell Patterson on the other end I have, but also just because I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. 28-3 Falcons were up against those Pats when that best Super Bowl comeback in history. So there's definitely some blood there. Jaguars are getting 12.5 points against the Rams, who have lost 3 in a row.
Is it in LA or is it in Jacksonville?
In LA.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta take the Rams with the big spread. They need to win this game and in dominating fashion for the way that they've been lately.
So for me, the Rams are like that stock right now, like DraftKings. It's a solid stock, bro. But for whatever reason, along with a lot of other growth stocks, it's just taking a beating, right? And they've lost 3 in a row, the Rams. And now DraftKings has been just pushed down. Until I see the bottom, I have no faith taking them and giving out that amount of points. I think they're going to win, no problem. But I still think they're trying to figure out OBJ, how they're going to use him. I still think that their defense is trying to figure out with Von Miller addition how they're going to play against with each. And I think until that clicks, I'm taking the points 12.5 with the Jags. Although the Jags are garbage, I just see it being a Rams blowout win, getting their swag back. But again, until I see that bottom, I just can't call the reversal yet. They lost 3 in a row. I got to see them manhandle the Jags before I'm back on their coattail.
We also know Jalen Ramsey might have a revenge game a little bit.
I mean, it's so removed, but shit, that's real. He's gonna want to pick off that QB.
McVay's a good coach.
He's gonna want to pick off that QB for sure.
Exactly. So we'll see how. Yeah, that's a tough one. But I would pick Rams if I had to pick.
I like that. I like that a lot. And P, he's a diehard Ram fan, so he'll probably love that as well. I took the points. I'm probably gonna be wrong on that, knowing fully. But until the Rams pop off again for me, I gotta go this other route. It's too many points in the NFL, man. Washington football team at Vegas. 2.5 points Raiders are giving against the Washington football team. Now this one's hard for me, AJ, because I'm watching Washington play right now. Until I see what happens, I don't feel comfortable even giving up the points. Did I lose you, AJ? There you are. Yeah, so...
Yeah, I'm going to call my phone just passes out.
Oh, yeah, you're good. So what do you think? I mean, it's hard to pick a team when they're playing tonight because I like to kind of get a read for them then. Coach likes the Raiders minus 2.5 against the football team. I'd like to see them play before I pick the team, but I definitely agree the Raiders should win that game in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm taking the Raiders, and that's in Las Vegas?
It's in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm 2.5. That's no brainer.
So we all three agree. All three agree on that one. That was our lock of the week. Next game, man, we got the Steelers at home playing against the Baltimore Ravens. They're getting 3.5 points. I mean, divisional home game, we keep them close, but I can't even say that right now because we literally not only got annihilated by the Bengals, but in the first half, 4th and 1, and we're punting it down 21-3. I'm just like, at this point, I'm kind of confused if the Charger game just took the wind out of our sail or if our defense is going to step up and actually, do we let Austin Eckler put up 4 touchdowns and then we run around and let Mixon put up like 165 yards? I'm confused, bro. So I took the Steelers because I can't go any other way, but I'm not confident at all, man. I think the Ravens can definitely win that game by more than 3.5 points. But we'll see, man. We'll see.
I like Steelers a lot, actually. I mean, 3.5 home team divisional game. You just saw how the Steelers played. I mean, the Ravens just played the Browns. Another divisional games. You saw how the Steelers played the Browns. You see how these teams kind of play each other. So they're always going to be close. So 3.5 points, I think, is just too many. I think whoever wins by a field goal. So that's why I'm leaning Steelers more than anything else. And that Steelers defense is good, and I don't want to discredit the Ravens, but they're a little one-dimensional sometimes. So I feel like some teams that are able to see Lamar a couple times, they're going to be able to game plan better than seeing him for the first time out of the division. So
See, this is what scares me. The Ravens run the ball. And for whatever reason, we went from number 1 in run defense after like first 10 weeks of the season to we're getting ran on. Even we gave up a rushing touchdown to Burrow, bro. I mean, it's just, look, I hope you're right. As a diehard fan, it hurts me to even say this. I think from my heart, they're going to win the game, and now they're back in the win out. You know, we still got 2 games versus the Ravens. This will be the first game against the Ravens. Ravens are in first place in the AFC, and we're 2.5 games back from them. It's not that crazy. Plenty of time left. So we sweep the Ravens, and all of a sudden we're in the driver's seat. So we'll see, man. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. We got the
Watt playing or Watt's healthy?
Yeah, he played last. Man, we finally got Watt back, and we finally got Minka Fitzpatrick back. But we don't have Joe Hayden, which is our shutdown corner, which it does put a lot of pressure on us when we're trying to cover Chase on one end, and we're kind of letting everything go on this end, and that's where the tight ends start to eat. And, you know, I think Bush is kind of playing through some injuries too, because he's usually a lot more shutdown. But we got some work to do, man. We definitely got some work to do. We're going to move on to the last 2 games. We got the 49ers giving 2.5 points against the Seahawks, who are playing right now. Again, tough for me when this Monday nights they're still playing to pick these games. But Coach seems to think his Niners, he is biased, a Niner fan, will be winning by 2.5 points. What's your thoughts?
I would. It's kind of weird, like you said, because they're playing. If the Seahawks lose the game tonight, I'm all over the Niners. If they win the game, I would have to kind of look back at it, but I would have to look at the playoff standings. I think a lot of these games, they kind of play themselves out. You know, like it's just always going to be competitive at the end of the year. So if the Seahawks need to win this game to make it more competitive in the division, they're going to somehow win it. You know, and that's not because I think they're a better team, but I think it's just because, like, within the division, which I kind of feel like we've been talking about, it's just so highly competitive. So like, they'll sneak out a game on the road because it's going to make it more competitive within the divisions.
Right. Keep it all close. Keep it still until we get to like week 16, week 15 with that extra week this year. It's like every divisional game changes the whole course of the season up until that time frame. So I kind of agree with you. Sometimes I'm like, is this like wrestling, man? Is this WWE sometimes, man? It's kind of sketchy, man. This just happened, but
yeah, man, it's on the surface, I want to say Niners very easily, especially how well the Niners have been playing. But
yeah,
then,
Debo's playing like a beast. Garoppolo's starting to find his thing. George Kittle somehow isn't even really existing, and they're still doing this. So just imagine when he gets going again, because you know you can't keep that giant down. Last game of the week, it's a Sunday night game because we're now officially picking Monday nights on Monday nights. But we got a Sunday night game. We got the Broncos, divisional game yet again, inside of Kansas City, where the Chiefs are favored by 9.5 points.
You know my history with the Chiefs, right? I'm a Chiefs fan now. Like, this year, I became a Chiefs fan. Like they're pretty much my team now.
Really?
So I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs. And this is a little NFL. I put down a couple bets in Vegas when the Chiefs were just getting destroyed week in and week out, looking like the worst team ever. Everyone's saying, "Oh man, the Chiefs sucks. Pat Mahomes sucks. Their whole team is so bad." I got a couple bets in at 16-1 for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. So,
hey, let me tell you, I was one of the ones, and if you probably watched my show with Coach, I was saying the same thing. Stop counting them out, man. Super Bowl hangover no, man. I know they lost in the Super Bowl. I know that Tom Brady seems to be the big brother of Ben Roethlisberger, seems to be the big brother of Pat Mahomes, seems to just own everyone. Big brother of Peyton Manning even at one point. But at the end of the day, it's the Chiefs, man. They're explosive. This guy can throw left-handed behind his back on one hand. This guy, Reek, can outrun anyone.
You know what I want to mention, too, and this is like, I feel like no one else sees this except for me, but, dude, every play they run, I feel like Reek or Kelsey is slipping, falling to the floor, and then it goes off of their hand and right into the defender's chest every single time.
Yes,
like,
bro.
This is not even like real
Every
football.
interception Mahomes is getting,
Fumble, yeah, everything.
hat,
It's like,
helmet,
it's-
chest.
It's not the O-line play. It's not the D-line play. It's not like they're not protecting them. So that's what really makes me believe that they're going to put it together by the end of the year. And all it takes is just one flip of the switch for them to suck a running hot. And like I said, they're going to run through their division. Like, this is where, like I said, they beat the Chargers. They're going to be they beat the Raiders. They're going to go ahead and they're going to beat the Broncos.
And they're getting a
gonna
bye
beat
week for everyone to get healthy before they sit at home. I got the Chiefs minus 9.5 also, hence the G by that. I agree with that one, man. And shout out to Gabe, man. Gabriel, his pops, man. He got a ring out there, man. I think I always say I think. I'm pretty sure it's for the Chiefs. His pops got a Super Bowl ring actually. So cool to see him in here again, man. This is like I think the second week he's been in here in a row. So we appreciate you. Look, man, I know we're low on viewers. I know y'all been tuned in for a long-ass time frame. This is obviously a lot longer show than we ever did. We had some fun, man. It was cool to catch up with you, AJ. I appreciate you coming on here last minute. I literally asked him today, so I appreciate that, man. Maybe one of these days we can get you on with Coach, man, and kind of pick your brain about a couple moves that you've seen in the near future that you think could possibly have some fun with, man. But as always, bro, I appreciate you to the fullest. Again, no financial limits. None of this that was spoken about was anything to do with financial advice. This is just two guys having a good time talking about some things that we're acknowledging and analyzing from our perspective. As always, do your own due diligence. And AJ, I'll let you sign out today, man. Go ahead and holler at him.
Yeah, everyone, thank you. I mean, Ghost, Jeremy, thank you so much. Love you. I mean, I don't know if everyone knows we're family. We've been family for forever. So it's, a great experience. I appreciate you having me on and even thinking about me to even come on here and to speak with the people. So, like I said, I tune in. I love it. I'm here riding with you. We talk all the time. Let me know about this weekend if you want to go pick up the puppy.
Yeah, that's right, man. I'm definitely going to have you pick this up with me, man. It's Sunday.
So, like I said, let me know, man. I'm
My wife's like, yay, Sunday. I want to go early, bro, so we can get back before the Steelers play, I think, at 1 o'clock, man. So let me know if that changes your mind. I want to leave by like 7.
I'm in, dude. Let me know. I got nothing to do. So.
Much love. I'll talk to you offline, man. It was cool seeing everybody out here, man. We appreciate you guys. Enjoy your evening. And let's see if the Seahawks can turn things around, man.
All right, much